If I could start over, I would not waste any time on anything else. I would just focus on these exercises. I always wanted to make this type of video, and since it is trending now, I decided to hop on that train. I have poured so much energy and time into things that do very little to my overall physique in terms of gaining muscle or the skill set needed to gain muscle. If I could revert time, I would, because I could easily speedrun my gains and cut the time in half needed to get to where I am right now. But let me say this, some muscles have more functions to cover, so doing only 10 exercises just not going to be enough. But even then, I'm going to list you the top 10 exercise in my opinion. And let's go from front to back, starting with chest. Dumbbell bench press. I have spent so much time doing barbell bench press with pain. I need this freedom to get my arms in a position where I don't feel any pain in my shoulders and I can press comfortably. And the dumbbell bench press allowed me to do that. It is not stable, but you can easily progressively overload the exercise. And since you have the freedom to move your elbow in a more tucked position to emphasize your chest, it is just a great option. But keep in mind, just because your elbows are drifting away from your body, doesn't mean that you are getting no chest. It is going to be increasingly less chest and your range of motion can suffer if you are anatomically not fit for that position. But there is nobody on earth who is not anatomically fit for a more tucked elbow position to hit their chest. Barbell shoulder press. This will train the front and the side delts. And you will see influencers running around and saying, just spam lateral raises. That's going to be good for your Look, doing just shoulder press is going to develop both heads. It's not going to hit the rear delt, but it's fine because I prefer that associating it with your back. But whenever we are talking about round, broad shoulders, it is always associated with leanness. You never seen a chubbier guy and said, yeah, those shoulders are great, because you have to have a level of leanness to have a deep cut at your shoulders and to see some definition. And you can say that, oh, it's the same for every muscle, but not really. It is just a few specific muscles that are like this. But back to the point, I have seen huge improvement on my lacking, hurting shoulders only doing shoulder press with a barbell, either standing or seated. Not to mention, the progressive potential is great. For quads, ATG split squats. My ankle mobility is not great. Even as a kid, I was inflexible, so squat is just not my jam. I was always the lunging guy, but any type of lunging is better for your glutes than for your quads. But doing the ATG version allows you to go all the way down and go into that really lengthened position, and we already know that the quads prefer that position to grow, and it is only possible because you are keeping your back leg somewhat straight. This exercise single-handedly gave me the best possible quad gains I could ever ask for, even if just one set claims my soul. For biceps, seated biceps curls. My arms always sucked, and having thin, longer arms or bones, they don't help. It was always difficult to grow them, but this one exercise stuck with me. The first time when I went down to the gym, there was this military guy who recommended me doing this, and at that time I was using 2 kilogram. Yes, 2 kilogram. And I managed to work this up to 16 kilogram, and still, the seated variation is just my favorite. You can also change the angle of the bench to hit your biceps in a slightly different position, or either way, it is still just biceps curls. But I like it because it's accessible and progressible. And going to the backside and starting with triceps overhead extension. Hands down, this is the best triceps exercise I have ever done. I have managed to more than double the weight I'm using for this exercise, and this gave me the best development on my waving muscles. And this is a bit interesting because whenever a new study comes out, people are talking about, oh, the triceps doesn't benefit from stress-mediated hypertrophy, throwing all those big boy words. But still, just because it doesn't get extra growth, it is still going to get growth and stimulus from this exercise, just like any other muscles from any other exercise. So just because something doesn't benefit from something extra, don't assume that it is not working. And the reason you can do more weights with push downs, close grip bench press, GM presses, is because there are more muscles involved. And in the triceps overhead extension, it is only your tricep that is involved. If I could only pick one exercise for every muscle group, triceps would be the easiest one, without second thought, triceps overhead extension. For back, wide seated rowing, trying to get my elbows as far as humanly possible and my shoulder blades dragged towards the middle of my body to hit those traps and rhomboid muscles. Back is hard because there are so many muscles, but for hypertrophy, often the best for your bucks exercises are really far from the best, and in most cases they are just the worst option. Lat pull down for lats. I have spent the most amount of time doing this exercise, and this is great because it is going to hit the vast majority of your lat volume. Against common belief, and I'm not sure if you are watching TikTok, hell of social media, but it was popular there to call it a terrace pull down because they often believe that it is only training your upper back. And if you said anything else, they were throwing acid on you. And now, quite recently, it became lats again, once they learned how to read, interpret data, and to look at some proof. So maybe don't take your information from TikTok, because that's probably not the best place to get lifting tips and advice, even if the intention is right. Because oftentimes to get views there, you need to ride the waves, the trend waves, or the trend waves, or both. For hamstrings, I'm torn apart in between seated hamstring curl and Nordic hamstring curls. I spent equal amount of time on both. But once I learned the Nordic hamstring curl, that blew up my seated hamstring curl strength. But it is not feasible to expect people to learn this exercise because, let's be honest, it is ridiculously hard. So I have to go with the seated hamstring curl variation. My legs were always my strength because I went against common belief and I neglected the best for your bucks exercises and rather focused on targeted work. And I see a lot of people who are like, deadlift this, deadlift that, deadlift, and their hamstrings are inverted. Anyway, hip thrust. You can spin your wheels, believe what you want. You can even be an old school lifter. When it comes to glutes, this exercise is unmatched. And people say for aesthetics, you just need broad shoulders, a good chest, wide back, to have that V taper. But I'm going to be honest with you. People laugh at your flat ass when you are wearing the tightest jean and everything else is huge. And then when they look at your glutes, all they say is just nothingness. And it is really disappointing, but I got to know this from personal experience. I've worked the way up so I can lift 3 times my body weight with this exercise, and my glutes are looking great and they have never been this strong. And the last one is unconventional. Is the weighted leg raise on the floor. You can neglect your abs training. You can say that abs are made in the kitchen or compounds are enough for them. But I am not feeding these lies to myself. As a kid, I was always around 15 to 13% body fat and had no visible abs. And they were never impressive looking, even though I was lean. Lean enough to see them. And then I started training it and it changed. It even got veinier on a higher body fat percentage and even more visible on a higher body fat percentage. So this exercise is going to be the last one on my list and also the one I appreciate the most because it has done wonders to my physique. Again, this is just my list and it is okay if you have a different opinion. Talk to you soon.